Hi, good morning. We're continuing on with Exploring Creation with Zoology 3, Alien Animals of the Sixth Day. We are doing It's Still a Dog and Correlation or Creation Confirmation. So let's buckle down and get going.
Mom, look.
Yeah, that's a model of what DNA looks like. And DNA is what makes you you. Well, God makes you you, but God uses DNA to tell your body how to be you. Okay, here we go.
Why did he make me?
Why did God make you? To glorify
God.
glorify Him and
Glorify God. Him.
fully enjoy Him forever. That's why He made you. It's still a dog. Family Canidae seems very diverse, and yet all the dogs in the family are the same kind. This
Can
tiny
I hold the tape?
Yes, but you need to be quiet. This teacup chihuahua, the enormous English mastiff, and the timber wolf wandering the countryside are all the same basic creatures. What does that mean? It means that God created animals. He created a single dog-like creature, and all the members of family Canidae come from that dog-like creature. So why do all the members of family Canidae look so different from one another? It's similar to the reason many people look different from one another. The 4-foot-tall Pygmy Indians of South America and the 7-foot-tall Watsuha Africans all come from two people, Adam and Eve.
I choose only me.
Remember we read about them in Genesis? God made them and put them in the garden?
No.
We just read about that
Today?
a couple days ago.
Why don't I remember that?
And we read about it in this book.
That. I remember that, but I don't know which day did we do that.
Okay.
Was that Tuesday? Mom, can I stand on your lap?
You can see here. I need to have the space free so we can operate this.
What is that noise?
Elsky being Elsky. God created His people and His animals with the ability to change and adapt. This led to many different types of people, even though they all came from just two, Adam and Eve.
It's for Mom.
Here's a picture of a wolf.
Too.
Yeah, maybe. She's being a spaz.
Mom.
Wait, I'm trying to read this. Even though this timber wolf is not the same species as your dog, as the dogs you and I keep as pets, it's a member of the same family and it probably descends from the same created kind.
Mom, the wheel is rough good. Mom.
That depends on who you're asking.
Mommy, why does cats have little tiny nose?
Okay, those are things that we'll talk about, not in science. I got to read this, and asking me about cats having tiny noses isn't part of this. I don't know why they have tiny noses, because that's what God decided to make them.
Why is the blue on it? And why is it wet?
That actually, there's a reason, and we'll have to look it up on the internet, because I don't remember. In the same way, God makes little, like, you can't see or tuck. God makes likely create. Goodness, let's start that sentence over. In the same way, God most likely created only one type of dog, but He built into the dog kind the ability to change and adapt over the years.
Can I hold two?
You need to be quiet, Gwen. You may not. As a result, even though there are different species of dog, they all are part of the same kind. For example, the dog that you and I love to pet and keep in our homes is often called a domesticated dog. And they are members of the species Canis familiaris, familiar dogs. The timber wolf, on the other hand, is a member of the species Canis lupus. Nevertheless, domesticated dogs and wolves are probably all the descendant of the same kind of dog that God originally created. In fact, many of the difference among domesticated dogs have actually been chosen by humans. Humans have bred dogs to look at a particular way and have a particular characteristic. There are specific dogs for herding, hauling, gardening, hunting, or companionship. As these traits appeared, man continued to breed dogs with these characteristics until the breed was very specialized. Sometimes these specialized characteristics are somewhat harmful for the dog. For example, pugs are dogs that have been bred with a flattened face and severe underbite. The lower jaw protrudes uncomfortably forward, and the flattened nose causes the dog difficulty in breathing. Despite the many unusual breeds of domesticated dogs, and even the different species in family Canidae, the members of this family are most likely all descendants of the same original dog kind created by God. No, not right now, Gwen. It's not a big deal. It's just some Play-Doh. All right, creation confirmation. Here's a picture of DNA. This is a model of DNA right here. The molecule that contains information stored in the form of genes about a creature. Okay. Sadly, some people mistake changes that have taken place in dogs as evolution. This is absolutely not the case. The fact that so many different breeds and species of dogs exist today has nothing to do with evolution. It shows how God has designed his creation to adapt to changes. Let me explain this in a way that will help you understand. First, we need to have a basic understanding of genes and DNA. Don't worry, I won't make this too complicated. DNA is a wonderful model that exists in every living creature. It stores a lot of information that helps the creature be what it's supposed to be. It stores the information in the form of genes. A dog of species Canis familiaris, for example, has thousands and thousands of genes. Every creature is given 2 copies of each gene, one from each parent. So a mother dog will give one of each of her genes to her pup, and the father dog will give each of his genes to the pup. One of each of his. Most of the time, each gene is either dominant or recessive. If it is dominant, it will win and its information will be used. Even if the recessive gene is in the dog, it is not used when the dominant gene is present. It is like the recessive gene is masked. It is there, it just doesn't do anything for the animal. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Chihuahuas can have short hair or long hair, and the length of their hair is determined by the dog's genes. The short hair gene is dominant, and the long hair gene is recessive. If a pup gets one short hair gene from one parent and a long hair gene from the other, its hair won't be a medium length, it will be short. Even though it has the long hair gene, it is recessive, masked, and doesn't do anything. So let's suppose 2 short-haired dogs have puppies. It is possible for one or more of the puppies to have long hair, even though both parents have short hair. Why? Because even though both parents have short hair, they could each have a recessive long hair gene. If a pup gets its mother's long hair gene and its father's long hair gene, it will have long hair because there's no dominant gene to mask the recessive long hair gene.
Ouch.
Here's a picture of the Chihuahuas. If I can get it to focus. This is the short-haired Chihuahua. This is the long-haired. Remember, the short-hair gene is dominant.
What? Why does that have a different type of gene?
Because we all have different types of genes.
Ow, she just
It's
bit
not
me
spelled-
right on the ouchie.
Well, she was telling you earlier she wanted to be left alone. You kept going. And it's not jeans like blue jeans like Daddy wears, but jeans spelled G-E-N-E. Yes.
But what are these?
These are the Chihuahuas, the short-haired and the long-haired. And the short hair is the dominant one.
I don't know why this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are these?
That's tomorrow's picture. They're timber wolves. So now you understand how genes work.
Were dogs.
That's because they look a lot like dogs, don't they? They're a type of dog. So now you understand how genes work. Let's take a look at how dogs can change features over time, either by natural selection or by breeding. Imagine that Noah had 2 wild dogs in the ark. Both of these dogs together had dominant and recessive genes for many different features. Short nose, short hair, long hair, curly hair, straight hair, short legs, short ears, long ears, and on and on. These 2 dogs may have even looked very different from each other, but they were with many different features populating the earth, forming new packs and spreading all over. Oops. These 2 dogs may have looked very different from each other, but they were the same kind as they could mate and have puppies. Guys, you're not listening again, and I didn't appreciate it yesterday. Remember what happened afterwards?
No.
Pay attention, please. After the ark landed, these dogs produced offspring with many different features populating the earth, forming new packs and spreading all over. As dogs spread to different locations, the different features of these dogs were taken to those locations. In the wild, dogs that had better features for survival, long, thick hair in cold regions, and gray coloring as better fit camouflage in the woods, lived to produce puppies with these features. Any dog born that didn't have these needed features, Edward, I would like you to turn around, please, and pay attention, would not be able to survive in the region. Guinevere, you too. Both of you turn around. Thank you. Over time, only dogs with the best features for survival could be left. They did not evolve long-haired or survive in cold regions. They would die. If they did not have evolved gray fur for camouflage in the woods, they probably wouldn't make it. So their genes just kept mixing each time they reproduced, and the dogs that had the best mix of genes in their environment were the ones that ended up surviving. Even though dogs have changed considerably since the flood, they have not changed into another kind of dog like a horse. Dogs can produce...
This horses have hoods?
I meant another kind of animal like a horse.
Yeah.
Do horses have hoods? No.
After this, after these stuff, are you gonna go do so, Mom? But does horses have coats in them when they're very cold?
Yes, they have a coat on them.
Mom, after this, after all of this stuff, are you gonna go help Thomas?
There's not much I can do for our toys right now. I just have to clean up when he's done, and he's not done yet. So I will stop this video when he's done. Even though dogs have changed considerably since the flood, they have never changed into some kind of animal like a horse. Dogs can produce other dogs because the genes only allowed for them to be dogs. Remember, the Bible says that animals reproduce after their own kind. Over time, however, nature ended up selecting the best mix of genes for the dog in a given habitat. The dogs that lived in cold regions, for example, developed long hair because the short-haired dogs kept dying from being too cold. As a result, the short-haired genes were eventually lost in the dogs who lived in those regions. So, do you see how natural selection works? Nature selects the genes that work best for a given animal in a given region. Because those animals without the best mix of genes end up dying, people can actually do the same thing. If you want to make a new breed of dog that is very tiny, for example, you can get 2 small dogs and let them have puppies. Then you can keep the smallest male and the smallest female from the litter and let them have puppies. If you keep doing this over a long period of time, you will probably end up having dogs that are much smaller than the ones that you started with. This is called artificial selection. In the same way, most breeds and dogs are produced. Once again, however, don't confuse natural selection or artificial selection with evolution. Evolution is the idea that one kind of creature, a dog for example, can eventually produce another kind of creature, a horse for example. Such an idea contradicts what we know about DNA and genes. DNA and genes indicate... Guinevere, please be more careful. DNA and genes indicate that, as the Bible says, animals reproduce after their own kind. Nature or people may select among to make many features that the DNA allows to have, but they cannot change the animal type. All right, that is our science lesson for today. Can you guys say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Guinevere, can you turn around please and say goodbye?
Goodbye. Goodbye.